very glad to meet you today. We would like to call you sometime in our meeting of Yoga Dharma. Welcome, said Prabhupada. What about your fellowship? It's called World Fellowship of Religion, said Swami Chidananda. Yogaji has made this Unity of Man conference. But we invited him, said Yogi Bhajan, referring to the previous invitation. Swami Chidananda, but now you are having the second one. Yogi Bhajan, yes, the second meeting is in Mexico. We will call him then as well. Srila Prabhupada smiled and said, I told you before, there is not going to be any unity. This candid remark made them laugh. You say, said Swami Chidananda, remembering Prabhupada's analysis, that until everyone is God-minded, until then, when God will design, said Yogi Bhajan, then everyone will become God-minded. What's the great deal about it? God himself says, said Srila Prabhupada, Dukhalayam Asashvatam. There is suffering. You cannot stay in this world. You have to leave. The main problem is birth, old age, disease, and death. So we are not anxious to adjust these things here, but these are the real problems. What can we do about birth, old age, disease, and death? Asked Swami Chidananda. Swami Srila Prabhupada continued preaching Bhagavad Gita without overtly disagreeing. Prabhupada's guests inquired and listened with respect, considering him a great spiritual leader, potent in spreading Hindu Dharma. He is great, said Yogi Bhajan. That's what I want to learn, how he can do that. The conversation turned, and Prabhupada mentioned that Yogi Bhajan was from the Sikh community, which is famous for its brave fighters. When the British people were defeated, Srila Prabhupada said, it was by the Sikh people. I have seen it. It is due to the Sikhs only. The Sikhs are Kshatriya. Some of them are Brahman Kshatriyas. Swami Sushil, yes, I said to some of my students that you go to Prabhupadaji and he'll make you Brahman Kshatriyas. Prabhupada, yes, let us cooperate like that. You take the work of Kshatriyas and we take the work of Brahmins. For Brahmins, we need brain, and for Kshatriyas, we need strength. As they spoke about non-violence, Srila Prabhupada argued that if one does not become God-conscious, then he will undoubtedly be committing himsa or violence. Yogi Bhajan. Yes, when they come to their senses, then they remember God. Prabhupada laughing. Here in the West, there is only himsa, nothing else. Prabhupada's guests laughed with him. Afterward, they took some photographs, and Srila Prabhupada invited them, along with some of his disciples, to sit and take Krishna Prasadam together. Srila Prabhupada requested his guests to attend the San Francisco Rath Yatra to be held the next day, and they agreed. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 6, Text 14. Aho nuvamso yashas sas, Aho nu vamso yashas avadata. Aho nuvamso yashas savadata. Prayavrato yatra puman purana. Prayavrato yatra puman purana. Krita Pratana Purusha Sa Adyas Krita Pratana Purusha Sa Adyas Chachara Dhammam Yat Akarma Hetum Chachara Dhammam Yat Akarma Hetum Aho Nubhamso Yasha Savadata Prayavata Racha Puman Purana Krita Pratana Purusha Sa Adyas Chachara Dhammam Yadat Karma Ketum Aho Nuvamso Yashasavattata Prayavrata Yatra Puman Purana Krita Vritana Purusha Saadyas Chachana Dhammam Yadaparma Hetum Aho Nuvamso Yashasavattata Prayavrata Yatra Puman Purana Kritavatara Purusha Saadyas Chachana Dhammam Yadakarma Hetum Aho, oh, Nu, indeed, Vamsha, the dynasty, Yashasa, with widespread fame, Avadata, fully pure, Priyavrata, related to King Priyavrata, Yatra, wherein, Puman, the Supreme Person, Purana, the original, Krita Avatara, descended as an incarnation, Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sa, he, Adya, the original person, Chachara, executed, Dhammam, religious principles, Yat, from which, Akama Hetum, the cause of the end of fruitive activities. Translation Purport Vaishnava Prabhupada. What shall I say of of the dynasty of Priyabrat, which is pure and very much celebrated? In that dynasty, the Supreme Person, the original personality of Godhead, descended as an incarnation and executed religious principles that could free one from the results of fruitive activity. Purport. There are many dynasties in human society wherein the Supreme Lord descends as an incarnation. Lord Krishna appeared in the Yadu dynasty, and Lord Ramachandra appeared in the Ikshvaku or Raghu dynasty. Similarly, Lord Rishabhadev appeared in the dynasty of King Priyavrata. All these dynasties are very famous, and often the dynasty of Priyavrata is most famous. Again, Shri Guru Vrinda Vande Shri Guru Tinatarnam Vanchakopa Chubhascha Kripasindu Vyevacham Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So thank you for giving this opportunity to speak and say something on this verse. So Prabhupada's talking about how there's many great dynasties in human society where the Lord incarnates. And the reason why he appears in these dynasties rather than any other is because, as has been mentioned in the previous verse, how he always incarnates in Bharatvarsha. Because in this tract of land, then the people are the most pious of the world and are easily take to devotional service. It says they're accustomed to glorifying the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the Lord appears and, for example, he appears and speaks Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. He comes down and says in the Gita how he's spoken this Gita is meant for the great kings like Ishvaku, Vishwashvan, and so on. And this is because they'd be willing to hear and give, and then they'd show the example of following. Whereas if in a more materialistic society, one could say that they need it more than that, there's such instruction more than them. But if Krishna chose the materialistic person to speak the Bhagavad Gita to, then he may not get anything but arguments. And he wouldn't have a chance to speak the Bhagavad Gita as a whole. So, and also he chooses the great kings, the nature of the human being is to, or nature of the soul is to follow and be dependent. So in their right mind, the living entity follows their leader, their king, and follows his example under his direction, just the same as the spiritual master. He's accepted so that the disciple can follow his example and attain the highest goal, him being qualified to do so. So these dynasties being very much God-minded, they accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they accept that his sole desire in the material world is to deliver the fallen conditioned souls. And accepting his position, they also understand that he's perfect and complete in his activities, in the way he conducts things. So the more we follow his direction and example is given by his representatives also, then we can also become perfect and complete. Therefore, the first business, as Prabhupada says, our first business is to control the mind. So, to be pious, one has to know how to control the mind, and so that one can act in a way that's following the previous acharyas. So the more we control our mind to follow the instructions, Krishna's instructions here, and the spiritual master, then the more we are protected. And the less, when the mind is uncontrolled, or open to one leaves oneself open to concoctions and sense gratification. So we see further away we get from further away we go from Varsha, the more realistic the society is. So and the original religion is the Vedas, and but we see how in history dynasties broke off from the Vedic tradition, not wanting to accept the authority, and so many other religions came as a result, so-called religions, in the sense that they may accept God, but in a way that's, but accept principles that are irreligious, but take them to be religious. So we find that, in the name of religion, animals are killed. And so sometimes they try to make it sound religious, and that you can only eat it on this day, and even kill it in a particular way. But anyone with any intelligence could see that, that the point was not to kill them in the first place. The instruction in all religions is thou shalt not kill. And this is what's Prabhupada's point. So in this way, if by not adhering to the principles of religion, then one is not destined to come to the point of learning to serve and love God and obey His laws, which is the essence of all religion. But the tendency is that one can, like we heard in how the Jains, they were kind of trying to copy Lord Rishabhadev's rather than his activities, rather than taking the essence. So to copy the natures, to copy to whatever great man performs, common men follow, whatever standards he sets, or all the world pursues. So we have, like, for example, celebrities and footballers and different people posing themselves as religionists or great philosophers or somebody to be followed because they have some kind of revelation or and so on. But those who don't have the discrimination, then they're easily taken in by this, and then they're being guided towards degradation. So, the tendency is to, without taking the instance, then the externals are followed. And this is called anukaranam. What the tendency is to copy, and like, for example, so many religions have fashioned themselves on the Vedic culture, but changing things, and in this way being proud that they've got a certain type of religion, a different kind of religion. But this is said how pride is the foundation of a religion. But whereas if it's real religion, then the foundation is humility. And so in this way we guard against pride. Because the pride can have us think of that our own mind is an authority. So therefore we can do and say things that are different from what's being passed down. So with this humility and developed intelligence, one can become a Paramahamsa. He can take the essence and have the ability to discriminate what is true and what is false, and act accordingly. So even though people may find practice ways that may not be as exalted as the Vedic culture, then everyone's to be encouraged. We can always find something that's that they're doing which we can encourage, and in this way come to the point of adding God consciousness or Krishna consciousness. For example, demigod worship isn't encouraged. It isn't like the highest principle. It can be taken as offensive to take a demigod to be more superior than Krishna. But at the same time, if we're in our preaching work, someone who's been practicing demigod worship for so many generations, then to tell them to stop, maybe asking them to bite off more than they can chew. So we give them some baby steps of, adding Krishna, or depending on how expert we are, then we can encourage them to come to a point where Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So especially in the Kali Yuga, it's prominent to declare oneself independent. I can do what I want, and I shouldn't have anyone to tell me I've got my rights and so on. But they forget how the whole principle behind being dependent is to, we're dependent from day one anyway. It's an illusion that we can be independent. And but the whole purpose behind being dependent is to understand that we're small, that we're dependent on something greater, that that we need someone to follow, we need someone to look up to. So there's so many personalities that take the place of Krishna in that regard. But if they're doing anything that would that we can find that we can encourage, then that should be followed. That should be encouraged, because they may not be even godly, just maybe not quite moral. But if they're giving in charity, if they're willing to practice some simplicity, make some sacrifice for a greater cause, then we can. This is to be encouraged, and in some way or other, just to add Krishna consciousness, and in this way, their spiritual evolution is reassured. So in recent times, we're fortunate to be not long ago, Lord Chaitanya appeared, and his greatest emissary, the Srila Prabhupada, to create this ISKCON, International Society of Krishna Consciousness. And in that sense, Prabhupada's created a dynasty wherein the holy name of the Lord has incarnated, and in this way it's descended to deliver all fallen souls. So our being in that dynasty, where it's incumbent on us to be exemplary representative, to propagate, to be able to propagate this Krishna consciousness, and act as the Lord desires, to save to everyone we meet, to give them some kind of, to some way, introduce them to Krishna, or give them something Krishna conscious, to start them on their way back home, back to Godhead. So any comments or questions? So just to highlight how the Lord is perfect and complete, and that He's set everything in place that we can have faith that whatever happens to us, whatever situation is there, then just by trying to to cooperate and in this way maintain the purity of the mission. Not that it's so changed that after 10,000 years go by and it doesn't resemble anything than when it started, how it was originally intended. So Krishna has his plan. So remember this story. Our dear Pragosh Prabhu, he also said it when he was here one time, and about how Krishna has a justice and plan for everyone. So there was a sweeper in a well-known Krishna temple, and he is very sincere and devoted. He was seeing how so many thousands of pilgrims are coming and devotees taking darshan of the Lord, and he thought that the Lord standing there must be very tired. So he was very innocently just asked the Lord, would you like to take a break? And I can take your place on the altar, and so that you can have some relief. And the deity replied, I do not mind taking a break. I will transform you to be like myself, but you must do one thing. You must just stand there like me, smile at everyone, and just give benedictions. Do not interfere with anything and do not say anything. Remember, you are the deity, and you must just have faith that I have a master plan for everything. The sweeper agreed to this. The next day, the sweeper took the position of the deity, and a rich man came and prayed to the Lord. He offered a nice donation and prayed that his business would prosper. While going, the rich man inadvertently left his wallet full of money right there. Now, the sweeper, in the form of the deity, could not call him, and so he decided to control himself and keep quiet. Just then, a poor man came, and he put one coin in the donation box and said that it was all that he could afford, and he prayed to the Lord that he could continue to be engaged in the Lord's service. He also said that his family was in dire need of some basic needs, but he left it to the good hands of the Lord to give him some solution. When he opened his eyes, he saw the wallet left by the rich man. The poor man thanked the Lord for his kindness and took the wallet very innocently. The sweeper, in the form of the deity, could not say anything, and he had just to keep on smiling. At that point, a sailor walked in. He prayed for his safe journey as he was going on a long trip. Just then, the rich man came with the police and said that somebody had stolen his wallet, and seeing the sailor there, he asked the police to arrest him, thinking that he might have taken it. Now the sweeper, in the form of deity, wanted to say that the sailor is not the thief, but he could not say so, and he became greatly frustrated. The sailor looked at the Lord and asked why he, an innocent person, is being punished. The rich man looked at the Lord and thanked him for finding the thief. The sweeper in the deity form could no more did tolerate, and he thought that even if the real Lord had been there, he would have definitely interfered, and hence he started speaking and said the sailor is not the thief, but it was the poor man who took away the wallet. The rich man was very thankful, as was the sailor. At night, the real Lord came, and he asked the sweeper how his day had been. The sweeper said, I thought it would have been easy, but now I know that your days are not so easy. But I did one thing. Then he explained the whole episode to the Lord. The Lord became very upset on hearing this, whereas the sweeper thought that the Lord would have appreciated him for the good deed he had done. The Lord asked, why did you not just stick to our plan? You had no faith in me. Do you think that I do not understand the hearts of all those who come here? All the donations which the rich man gave were stolen money, and they are only a fraction of what he really has. Whereas he wants me to reciprocate unlimitedly. The single coin offered by the poor man was the last coin he had, and he gave it to me out of faith. The sailor might not have done anything wrong, but if the sailor were to go in the ship that night, he would die because of bad weather. Instead, if he had been arrested, he would have been in jail and saved from a greater calamity. The wallet should have gone to the poor man because he would have used it in my service. I was also going to reduce the rich man's karma by doing this, as well as to save the sailor. But you cancelled everything because you thought you knew my plan and you made your own plans. Krishna has plans and justice for everyone. You just have to have patience. So any comments or questions? Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, ISKCON Govinda ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Bol.